Hey, yo. Excuse me. By the way, did you guys know that I was coughing so much in the last few weeks that I straight up like busted a lung? Someone told me that I was going to, and I did, and now I'm on prednisone. So if I'm a little more aggro, that's why. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Fantastic Friday here on the Bituation Room podcast, live stream thing, situation, ordeal. It's complicated. So good to have you with me, with us. If you're here live, what's up? If you're here live on YouTube, hi. If you're here live on Twitch, yo. If you're here in the future, good on you, time is yours. I stop and start when you say baby. Um, and I am excited to dig into. I promise we're going to end. I always say I promise we're going to end with a story, but then I literally have like 10 stories before me. So much to talk about. But I do want to talk about the other primate news other than can 100 men fight a gorilla, which is just such a like hilariously uninteresting exercise in my mind, but like thought exercise. Because initially I was like, I feel like, didn't I heard that like Mr. Beast wants to do that, which it would be very funny if Mr. Beast met his demise, no shade, but like because the hubris of trying to take down a gorilla and his name is Mr. Beast. Like it'd just be good, you know what I mean? But no, there's other news in the primate world and has to do with bonobos, and I was sort of fascinated by by that. So maybe we'll talk about that. They also have sex for pleasure. Bonobos and humans. I think that's it. Is it like dolphins too? Dolphins, humans, bonobos. Anyway, important things, obviously, on a Friday that we're trying to take a load off. It is Friday, May 2nd. And you know what is around the corner? May 7th. You know what May 7th is? You goddamn right. It's me and Matt Lieb in San Francisco at the Cobb's Comedy. I was going to say the punchline. No, Cobb's Comedy. Maybe we can all get drinks afterwards. So come through. We'll all go. I was like looking up, we'll go to like some cocktail bar afterwards. But it'll be so good. Get your tickets. 7:30 p.m. NATO Green is opening for us. It's going to be amazing. If you're in Los Angeles, May 30th, that's a Friday. We're going to do the Bituation Room live. Eunices Hernandez is a councilwoman. John Idarola is this guy or whatever. No, John Idarola of the Damage Report. Rachel Reyes of LA Podcast. And again, Matt Lieb, because I can't quit him. Today is his birthday. So that's going to be great. Also, New World Disorder is my monthly show. That's going to be happening on Wednesday, May 21st in Pasadena. It's a lot. But here's the thing. Not as much as your guy, Tom Homan, is doing. I'm not sure if anyone has seen this yet. But this is the kind of level of, we're just going to do a little compare and contrast. There's a level of fight that, the right has. And then there's a level of fight that Democrats have. And we're just going to, match them up against one another. Tom Homan, everyone needs to understand, and I will have a forthcoming piece for Zeteo about this. Tom Homan was acting ICE director back in Trump's first administration, actually during a time when the Homeland Security Investigations Unit which is a unit that exists within ICE that specifically tries to go after cartels, cartel leaders, drug dealers, sex traffickers, and violent criminals, right? Who are undocumented. That is what they do. The people that Stephen Miller and the, white nationalists like Tom Homan are telling us are, everyday undocumented people who are like day laborers or tamale sellers who've been living in this country for decades and decades and decades. So this particular unit within ICE back in 2018 asked Tom Homan, hey, yo, actually, the way that you guys are politicizing ICE is making our job of going after criminals a lot more difficult. Can you break up our division out of ICE? Effectively, can you return to what immigration enforcement used to look like before 9/11 when everything was all politicized? Can you do that so that we can actually do our jobs. Instead, it's been, 8 years, and Biden didn't put the cat back in the bag. Instead, ICE and Homeland Security investigations have not focused on criminals. They've, in fact, quintupled things like raids on workplaces. They have gone after, again, as I say, low-hanging fruit, i.e. people who are not in danger to a danger to anybody, for being undocumented. So it's amazing that we've forgotten how recently ICE was like, yo, we can't actually go after real criminals here. And Tom Homan and the other Nazis that are in this office are basically like, that's the point, buddy. We don't actually care about crime. We care about the undocumented landscaper. Anyway, here's Tom Homan being asked, I'm assuming by a far right outlet, because listen to the way this is caged and couched, which is, right winger being like, hey, why don't we just lock up anyone who would dare try to protect their own residents in their cities? Like, the mayors of sanctuary cities.
So the president signed an executive order just this week threatening to defund sanctuary cities for their policies. Why not just arrest the leaders who are harboring and shielding illegal aliens, actually terrorists, from deportation?
Wait to see what's coming.
Now, if you don't speak sort of inaudible bully, he just said, wait till you see what's coming. Watch it again.
So the president signed an executive order just this week threatening to defund sanctuary cities for their policies. Why not just arrest the leaders who are harboring and shielding illegal aliens, actually terrorists, from deportation?
Now, look at this smile. Look at this fucking smile. He loves this question. Why don't you just arrest people who work, who arrest mayors of sanctuary cities, people who are harboring terrorists, right? I mean, this is the amazing part about the continued fallout of the war on terror, was that when you don't define what terrorism is, when you actively undermine law-abiding Muslim Americans, trying to go about their daily lives, worship or whatever, when you allow this mission creep, this is what it's set up for. I mean, this is why I appreciate the Republicans who have done a 180 on Donald Trump. But you know what? You guys were all on board for Bush, okay? All right. You got your Nicole Wallace's on MSNBC. No. She worked in the Bush administration. You guys are all on board with the war on terror, which, how did that turn out? Anyone? Oh, yeah. Created ISIS. Cool. So the point is that we've now normalized. And of course, the word terrorism was going to get weaponized. And then this.
Wait to see what's coming.
Wait till you see what's coming. Why don't we just arrest mayors of sanctuary cities? Wait till you see what's coming. So, fun little preview. And you know what? Like, we're in a moment right now where this week, Stephen Miller called J.B. Pritzker of Chicago governor. I mean, he's not mayor, right? But called J.B. Pritzker's call for action, because J.B. Pritzker said these people need to never know a day of peace. Let's actually take the streets. I was actually passing by a Tesla dealership the other day, and people are out. You guys know you're out and you're meeting people, and it's good. And we need to let these folks know they should never know a day of peace. Stephen Miller's like, no, that's a call to violence. That's, that should be investigated. So they would love nothing more than to arrest people like J.B. Pritzker. And it's a very interesting moment, because then you have your Gavin Newsoms who are like, don't arrest me, come on my podcast. And then you have J.B. Pritzker who's like, no, we need to stand up for our people. He even said, J.B. Pritzker also said, you come for my people, you come through me, believe were his actual words. So there's Tom Homan chomping at the bit to do exactly that. And I just want to juxtapose it with this other piece, this little bit of reporting that we got from Adrian Carrasquillo, who I think used to work at AJ Plus. Adrian, did you? From the Bulwark, speaking of former Republicans, which is Hakeem Jeffries, Speaker of the House for Democrats, obviously leadership, if they were in leadership, who wants to put an end to the El Salvador trips. We've done enough. Okay, look, if it can be done in a haiku or a nice little limerick, if I can use a Maya Angelou quote, then why do I need to go to El Salvador to protest the people who are being disappeared unjustly despite a 9-0 Supreme Court ruling? We're all done with that. So the House Speaker has spoken. Jeffries wants Dems to put an end to the El Salvador trips. Cory Booker and the Hispanic caucus were planning on going, but Democratic leadership seems to want El Salvador trips to stop for a while. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was asked Monday whether Democrats should continue to advocate for the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the other men wrongly shipped to El Salvador by making the trip to the country to put a spotlight on the issue. Our reaction is that Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president in modern history. What? I'm sorry, that's your reaction? That's your reaction. So should we work to free a man who has, 3 children, who is being treated in God knows what conditions, along with hundreds of other people, who was unjustly deported, according to both an immigration judge and the Supreme Court? Should we work to free that guy? Trump's approval ratings are terrible. So what does that even mean? This is the sort of slavery would have ended on its own. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate to say this, but the people who are like, well, it's all going to come crashing down for Trump. How? Stop believing anyone who tells you it's going to all come crashing down for Trump, because every morning you and I wake up and we pinch ourselves wondering how we elected this criminal narcissist who tried to overturn an election using a violent mob. Like, who blackmailed a world leader, who tried to find a non-existent votes in Georgia. How? No, don't worry. He'll have to answer to God. Okay, fun. I don't want to wait for that. I want him to answer to the people now. Jeffries may be publicly agnostic on El Salvador trips like the one Reps Robert Garcia, Yasmin Ansari, who I'm trying to get on the show, Maxwell Frost, and Maxine Dexter recently took. Privately, he sees the trips as having run their course. 2 Democratic aides and a lawmaker who spoke to the Bulwark said the minority leader is discouraged for their excursions to the country, even as pressure mounts within the party to turn up the heat on Trump. Bitch, your ass should go. Quote, they want to let the El Salvador stuff slow down, a senior House staffer said. Jeffries' office initially declined to comment, but after the publication of this piece, a spokesperson put out a statement calling it false. The spokesperson, Christy Stephenson, said the item was thinly sourced, leaving out that their office did not initially push back when contacted prior to publication. Well, because you realize it looks terrible. Stevenson noted that Jeffries has repeatedly said House Democrats will never stop fighting for the release of Mr. Abrego Garcia. And indeed, after the Supreme Court ruled that the White House had to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return, Jeffries demanded the order aggressively and immediately be enforced. So now it's like, well, did he say it? Did he not? He says he didn't, but according to aides, they're done with it. Maybe you just don't like that you're being outshone by like a guy nobody knew existed. Like that Chris Van Hollen of Maryland is like, everyone's saying that he could be like a presidential candidate over what he's done. Because it's amazing with just having a little bit of balls, not big balls, small balls, just a one ball. Look, you could do a lot with one ball. So like, this is, we know, guys, it's politics. He's embarrassed. He doesn't want to be shown up by, a man in his 60s, whatever. I don't know how old Chris Van Hollen is, but we're done with that now. And the other thing is like saying that you're done with it is so clearly like, oh, it's a performance and we've done the performance, so we're stopping. But anyway, a little bit of a like, here's the moment. Tom Homan saying we're about to arrest Democratic leaders. Effectively. Hakeem Jeffries saying we need to stop advocating for the unjust deportation of people. Like, we need to actually match the energy that is coming at us from this fascistic regime. We need to match it. Yeah, Pickle Hippie has it right. He's given up. He needs to step aside for people that actually want to help. And you have a tuxedo cat in your avatar, and I need to let everybody know that Ramona had dental surgery and she is currently hiding under the bed, and she's very upset. And I think she also like is very loopy because when they give you pain meds, it's like she can't sleep, poor thing. And she's wearing a cone, and I'm like, how long does she have to wear the cone? And they're like 5 days, 5 days, to say nothing of how expensive. And you guys know Medicare for all pets. Okay. If we can't get Medicare for us, like at least pets, because holy shit, holy shit. There's a lot to say about another Democrat. But before we go to him, I do want to do some of this breaking news about, I think people were talking about in the comments, and let's talk about it. A boat that was called the let's start it over. A boat that was called the Freedom Flotilla that was attempting to get much needed humanitarian aid, medicine, food, water into Gaza has been attacked by Israeli drones. It was attacked the night before, I believe. They were meant to set sail to try to reach Gaza. And this is not the first time that, number one, flotillas, activist organized boats loaded with humanitarian aid have tried to reach Gaza. The most sort of infamous was in 2010, where the Gaza Freedom Flotilla was boarded by the IDF and taken down. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but they were violently boarded to say, absolutely not, you cannot block the siege to Gaza. Because as we know, it's not just this genocide. It's been happening ever since 2007, 8, ever since Hamas came to power, effectively, right? And of course, now people who didn't even vote for Hamas, could not vote for Hamas, weren't born to vote for Hamas, are being punished by Israel and the international community. Let's be real. No aid has been allowed in since the ceasefire was violated and broken by Israel on March 18th. No food. We've seen the images, and yet the casualties are racking up. It is being called a killing field, and that's exactly what's happening. And so these incredible activists attempted to reach Gaza. They did not make a big deal of it, meaning they didn't do a lot of social media campaigns. So we didn't hear about it until it was attacked, in part because they were, I'm assuming, hoping to avoid being attacked. But here's one of the organizers with, she is here, with Greta Thunberg herself explaining what happened. Just take a listen and a look.
The Freedom Flotilla was finally on its way to Gaza. We thought we had overcome bureaucratic sabotage this time around by keeping things quiet. But as a large international coalition, including U.S. boats to Gaza, was ready to board in Malta, in the middle of the night, our humanitarian mission was attacked by 2 drone strikes in international waters off the coast of the island.
Okay, before I continue it, so they were off the coast of Malta, and they were attacked by drone strikes. And here's just some images of what that did, which is freaking terrifying. So it was mostly, I guess it's the hull. This is the moment that it's on fire. Some of the damage to they're calling it the Conscience Flotilla from 2 unprovoked drone attacks. I mean, there's provocation, right? The provocation is, how dare you try to bring necessary food and aid into Gaza? I mean, what was the provocation when the World Central Kitchen was deliberately attacked, when their convoy was deliberately attacked? There's no provocation. The provocation is, how dare you allow people to survive? It's really upsetting. She goes on and rightfully, I think, gets emotional about it.
This boat carried family members of humanitarian activists who were attacked in the Mavi Marmara 15 years ago. They They were trying to
So she's talking about 15 years ago. That's the 2010 Mavi Mara flotilla that was attacked. So these are family members of the people who were on that original flotilla.
complete their loved one's legacy by responding to a call for solidarity with the people of Palestine to break Israel's deadly blockade. But again,
wait, hang on. I completely misspoke, you guys. 9 activists were killed. Please. 9 activists were killed. 8 Turkish nationals, 1 Turkish American, many were wounded. Forgive me for not fully explaining that. And I had forgotten that. But Jesus Christ, call it my own American, exceptionalism, remembering people like Rachel Corrie, and not people like the 9 activists. So 9 activists were killed in 2010 for doing this exact same thing. Forgive me for misstating that. Let's continue.
Again, as the Freedom Flotilla carried desperately needed aid across the Mediterranean, our opponents were loading their weapons. The Freedom Flotilla is an international mission of unarmed civilians and only carrying humanitarian aid.
Attacking a humanitarian mission is a war crime. We need you to demand your government to stop all aid to Israel and demand an end to the illegal siege. We're sending you all love and rage and solidarity from the Mediterranean Sea. Free Palestine.
I love her so much. So that's Greta Thunberg, and an organizer who is explaining the situation. Again, 2 drone strikes hit this Freedom Flotilla called the Conscience. A ship carrying aid in a bid to break Israel's blockade has been hit by drones in international waters off Malta, according to the FFC, the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, the group that organized the mission. They said in a statement on Friday that the vessel, now located 14 nautical miles from Malta, was the target of 2 drone strikes while on its way to Gaza. The ship had been seeking to deliver aid to the besieged enclave, where aid groups warned people are struggling to survive. Armed drones attacked the front of the unarmed civilian vessel twice, causing a fire and substantial breach in the hull. The statement did not directly accuse Israel of carrying out the attack. However, it did demand that Israeli ambassadors must be summoned in answer to violations of international law, including the ongoing blockade and bombing of our civilian vessels in international waters. Nicole Jenis of FFC told Al Jazeera that the attack on the Conscience at 12:23 p.m. local time on Friday morning blew a hole in the vessel and set the engine ablaze. The strike left 30 Turkish and Azeri activists on board, engaged in a frantic effort to bail out water and keep the vessel afloat. The group statement said a vessel from Southern Cyprus had been dispatched after it sent SOS calls. Later on Friday, the Maltese government sent a statement that the fire on the ship had been brought under control. The vessel was being monitored by authorities. It was unclear whether authorities had directly intervened to put out the fire, what has happened to the activists. I think we're going to get more news in terms of any injuries and hopefully not deaths. I assume we would be hearing more if there had been deaths. But again, in 2010, there was the IDF straight up boarded that flotilla, and 9 people were killed. In fact, according to the UN General Assembly, possibly executed. So if you're just coming up to speed on all of this, as clearly Francesca is refreshing her memory as well, yeah, welcome. Welcome to the hell that is Gaza. Welcome to the hell that it is trying to be an activist, trying to be a humanitarian, trying to deliver necessary food, aid, medical supplies. No, you will be treated like a terrorist. You will be killed. You will be attacked for the crime. What would have happened? What would have happened? I mean, play it out. What would have happened if this food delivery, the aid delivery, had reached Gaza? People eat? People get some medicine? No, you don't understand. The photos, the images, the gratitude, the elation, the embraces, the goodwill. Israel cannot have that. They don't want any of that. The stories. And remember, these are not Palestinians, right? Even though obviously they are attacked, which is always the excuse. Oh, there was a Palestinian with him. I mean, a Hamas member with them. But this is the same government that is barring any international coverage of this genocide and summarily executing and killing any Palestinian journalists that are still left. It's fucking insane. I can't believe I'm curious to see what happens. And whether or not, we hear more. I'm assuming we're going to hear more. I'm hoping there were no deaths. But yeah, everybody just look up the Gaza Freedom Flotilla 2010 and very important history there. And speaking of people who carry water for the state of Israel, Senator John Fetterman is in the news because he has a massive New York Magazine expose about him that I find actually fairly generously titled, which is called All by Himself. And it's long. I'm not going to read all of it to y'all. It's called All by Himself. John Fetterman insists he's in good health, but staffers, past and present, say they no longer recognize the man they once knew. This is actually a deeply depressing read, because it is clear he is mentally unwell, and yet it's hard to have sympathy for him when he has so openly turned his back on the progressive movement that got him elected. Many people, maybe yourselves included, are asking for their donations back. Where he has said he doesn't believe he's a progressive. He has confirmed a lot of Donald Trump's appointees and his cabinet members. He is clearly lost. This man is clearly lost. And on top of that is someone who has taken insane amounts of money from AIPAC and the Israeli lobby, and stands by the idea that students in the streets, who are, asking for the genocide, demanding the genocide, and demanding the divestment, the students who, by the way, just 2 days ago had the police called on them because they were watching a documentary, UCLA, of the encampments, called The Encampments. I believe it's a Watermelon Pictures production, which is a new awesome production house. I think Alana Hadid is involved in that. They're watching a documentary of the encampments and they get attacked by the cops for doing what? For watching a documentary, people. Like, we live in a parody. It is absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't believe it if someone had told me that this is what we're doing. Oh, we would have never done this under Biden. No, they did it under Biden. They did it under Biden. I'm sorry. Sorry to say. This is in California. It's a blue state. We're woke here. No, they do that because it doesn't matter. Because if you stand up for Palestinians, then you don't have a right to speak. The cops have free reign. So Fetterman's been hook, line, and sinker on this. This is track AIPAC, $370,000 from independent contributors. That is, I think that maybe is in just 1 year. I mean, he hasn't been there very long, but AIPAC has bought and sold this man's soul. So that is part of it. And I want to read a little bit of it that is like really disturbing. So effectively, the biggest thing is that his aide, a guy named Adam Gentleson, was helping him after he got released for his stroke from Walter Reed. Again, remember the stroke that nearly took him out of his own election, where people like myself went to bat for him, even though it was very clear he was not able to, speak. And he was struggling. But that's okay. Just because someone had a stroke doesn't mean their politics aren't good, that we shouldn't support them, right? The jokes made about him were good. No, it was awful. So a lot of folks defended him, including Adam Gentleson, who his chief of staff was proud of his boss for seeking help. He was in a 6 week of inpatient care at Walter Reed for his depression coming out of the stroke. But a year after his release from the hospital, Fetterman's behavior had so alarmed Gentleson, he resigned his position. In May 2024, he wrote an urgent letter to David Williamson, the medical director of the Traumatic Brain Injury and Neuropsychiatry unit at Walter Reed, who'd overseen Fetterman's care at the hospital. Quote, "I think John is on a bad trajectory, and I'm really worried about him," the email began. If things didn't change, Gentleson continued, he was concerned Fetterman won't be with us much longer. Which, again, you can only imagine that the pressure of this article and everything, like, I wish this person well. I don't wish anyone to hurt themselves, take their own lives, you know, and then even though he said heinous things, like, he should be well, he should be taken care of, but I don't think he should be a senator anymore. That much is clear. Gentleson wrote this 1,600-word email, subject line concerns, from eating fast food multiple times a day. We don't know if he's taking his meds. His behavior often suggests he's not. He has conspiratorial thinking, megalomania, for example. He claims to be the most knowledgeable source on Israel and Gaza around, but his sources are just what he reads in the news. He declines most briefings and never reads memos. High highs, low lows, long rambling, repetitive, and self-centered monologues, lying in ways that are painfully, awkwardly obvious to everyone in the room. Fetterman was, according to Gentleson, avoiding. I love that, like, we finally got a young senator and it's John Fetterman. Like, we're just like, oh, we were so close. Like, you know, Dianne Feinstein, which, by the way, a patron said that they also saw Sheldon Adelson rolling out of Dianne Feinstein's office from Wednesday's show, by the way, bonus episode, patreon.com/bitchuation room if you want to get access to that, which is hilarious because, of course, you know, Sheldon Adelson probably lived up in Dianne Feinstein's office. Anyway, the point is like, oh, we got a young one. Damn it. He had a stroke and he's losing his mind and he supports genocide. He was preoccupied with social media platform X, which he previously admitted had been a major accelerant of his depression. He drove his car so recklessly, his staff refused to ride with him. He also bought a gun. He says he has a biometric safe and takes all the necessary precautions and living where he does. I understand the desire for personal protection, he wrote, but this is one of those things you flag. You said to flag, so I'm flagging it. This is Gentleson writing to this doctor. Every person who was supposed to help him stay on his recovery plan has been pushed out. Fetterman was isolated and had damaged personal relationships and was shedding staff. The turmoil in his office continued over the following years. Since winning the 2022 election, he lost one of his closest advisors, including 3 of his top spokespeople, his legislative director, and Gentleson. His circle of trust has shrunk, and the people I spoke with made it clear that they expect more staffers to depart. Oh boy. Gentleson said, quote, "Part of the tragedy here is that this is a man who could be leading the Democrats out of the wilderness, but I also think he's struggling in a way that shouldn't be hidden from the public." I mean, this is the whistleblower type situation. Elf Song said, "Is his wife still with him?" Very interesting. We'll get to that later. I believe yes, because not 2 weeks ago, what was it? 2 weeks ago, we did a whole story about how Giselle and John Fetterman went to Israel again and met with Netanyahu, and Netanyahu gave him a freaking beeper, a gold or whatever beeper to, you know, laugh at all of the people who were murdered by Israel and Lebanon. I tried to get to the juiciest parts. In early 2023, after Fetterman indeed had been sworn in, members of the Senate, because he thought he wasn't going to get sworn in. He had this like, he was like vexed by this idea that they wouldn't swear him in because he had dealings with Sam Bankman-Fried. And it's like, not everybody had dealings with Sam Bankman-Fried, but he was like paranoid that they would find a way not to swear him in. A staffer recalled getting texts from a person at a retreat asking if their boss was okay. Fetterman was sitting at a table by himself, slowly sipping a Coke and refusing to talk with anybody. Later that day, another staffer heard an alarming report from a journalist. Fetterman had just walked obliviously into the road and was nearly struck by a car. Oh my God. An aide found Fetterman walking on Capitol Hill a short time later. Worried that he had suffered another stroke, the staffer whisked him to George Washington University Hospital. Doctors there determined there had been no new stroke, and the dizziness and confusion he experienced was partly owed to severe dehydration. So effectively, he was put on antidepressants, which is good. But then, of course, he got help at Walter Reed. He was admitted on February 15th. You guys remember that. In those first few days, the hospitals were rough. Fetterman was experiencing delusions. He thought if he took a bed at the hospital, he would be arrested. He told doctors he believed members of his family were wearing wires to secretly record him. In one chaotic moment, Fetterman grew convinced that a political rally was being held in the hospital's lobby, and he needed to break out of his room to attend. David Williamson, Fetterman's doctor, told me that the main cause of the delusions were the lingering effects of the stroke, dehydration, and depression, and the original medication for the depression could have also been a factor. Okay, so they stopped all antidepressants and put him on other drugs. Williamson declined to comment on the specifics of the medication plan. Yeah, a lot of this is definitely HIPAA protected. I'm sure Fetterman is freaking out about this right now. And it really, I wish this weren't our business. Like, I wish this man were not, and again, the people of Pennsylvania, I wish this were not their business, but it is. The new medication worked and his mood steadily improved. So he started sleeping and eating better. He'd come into the hospital burdened by thoughts of self-harm and indifference about whether he lived or died. Oh, God, okay. If the doctor said, oh, by the way, you have 6 months left, I would have been like, okay, whatever, he later told Time magazine. But now with the new treatment plan, Williams said, Fetterman quickly evidenced better mood, brighter effect, and improved motivation, self-attitude, and engagement with others. So he welcomed visitors, on and on and on. So it's like, it's good, but also then October 7th happened. In the days after the October 7th attack, Israel declared war and retaliated with brute force, killing Hamas forces as well as thousands of civilians. In the U.S., progressives began calling for a ceasefire, and Fetterman felt differently. Quote, now is not the time to talk about a ceasefire, he posted on October 18th. We must support Israel in efforts to eliminate Hamas terrorists who slaughter innocent men, women, and children. So, in other words, we must slaughter innocent men, women, and children who slaughter innocent men, women, and children. If his base was surprised by this, perhaps they hadn't been paying enough attention. While Israel had not been a prominent issue in his various campaigns, Fetterman had been talking about his support for the country for years. I'm not really a progressive in that sense, he said while campaigning in 2022. Eyes wide open, y'all. When I say that this Israel is a litmus test for Democrats, I mean it. At least for progressive Democrats, at least for people who were going to actually like put, energy and ground game behind. It's a massive liability. Quote, there's no daylight between myself and these kinds of unwavering commitments to Israeli security. Still, it wasn't until October 7th that it became clear that Fetterman was the most outspoken Israel hawk in his party, offering constant and unconditional support for the military action in Gaza. Let's see. Early on in the conflict, 16 of his former staffers wrote a letter anonymously saying they found his full-throated support for Israel to be, quote, a gutting betrayal. Gentleson had taken to defending Fetterman from such criticisms, posting, the thing about being a staffer is that no one elected you to represent them. But it wasn't just the staffers who were upset. There was also Fetterman's wife, Giselle. Now remember, Giselle would appear on the campaign trail. She was incredibly supportive of him, but she, in her own right, was like kind of a celebrity, a political figure. People loved her. A lot of people liked her more. And she really helped him and spoke for him during, obviously, the stroke and went through a lot. So that's some backstory, because I think we've all been like, where the hell is Giselle? Like, what does she think about this? She's a kind-hearted philanthropist, the proprietor of a free store in Braddock that gave away goods and clothing, a formerly undocumented immigrant from Brazil, and a vocal progressive. In early November, just weeks after the attack, Giselle arrived at her husband's. I mean, she better watch out, because if she says too much in support of Palestinians, I feel like John Fetterman would absolutely revoke her citizenship based on it. Fetterman will at Marco Rubio to be like, could you take care of this Hamas supporter who's living in my home? Oops, my wife? Oh, well. In early November, just weeks after the attack, just weeks, November, y'all. Giselle arrived at her husband's Senate office, and according to the staffer present, they got into a heated argument. They're bombing the refugee camps. How can you support this? The staffer recalled her saying with tears in her eyes. That's all propaganda, Fetterman replied. Yeah, it's propaganda. I mean, I love even the most committed Hasbaris, even your Ben Glebes, you know what I'm saying? Who I, around this time, would get into also private debates about like they just bombed a hospital, and it's like, but that we don't know that was an Israeli attack. Remember that? Remember I forgot the name of one of the first hospitals that was bombed, and it was like, we don't know, and then it was like, well, they're bombing Al Shifa, and it's like, well, there's a bunker underneath. Okay, well, Israel built that bunker. Well, all the more reason. Like the idea that the propaganda line isn't that they're bombing refugee camps. The propaganda line is they had to because insert thing that college students said at UCLA. That's the propaganda. I mean, that's the line you should be saying. The fact that they're bombing refugee camps, like everybody knows that and admits that. The question is, do you think that's wrong or do you think it's justified ever? Later, still visibly upset, Giselle pulled the staffer aside. She asked him if members of Fetterman's team were pushing him to take these stances for political reasons. The staffer told her that the opposite was true. Many of them were as upset as she was. So this is so interesting. She doesn't have a good enough relationship with her husband to honestly ask him, like, yo, are you doing this because there's money? You know what I mean? Like, what do you, and so she's asking the staffers, is he doing this for political reasons? Is there someone, who's asking him to put out these statements? Is there someone, behind the scenes, like saying like, good on you, support Israel no matter what? Are you guys saying this to him? Many of them were upset. If you're pushing back on this, there's no hope, the staffer recalled her saying. This is horrible news. A few days later, Giselle texted a different staffer, quote, I'm at a breaking point and I can't co-sign this any longer. I'd love some help in language to separate myself from this. Can anyone help me? What the fuck? Which is like, I'm assuming she means put out her own individual statement that says she doesn't support what her husband is saying. Carl Fetterman, an insurance executive, was way more conservative than his son. He used to have a magnet on his refrigerator that warned that his dog bites Democrats. Oh, good magnet. And he watched Fox News constantly. When Fox would air segments about Fetterman's strong stances on Israel or invite him on as a guest, the senator's father would, according to former staff, almost always call to say how proud he was. Oh, boy. See, we didn't know this either. We didn't know he had a conservative dad. I mean, it's just like, it doesn't matter, but that can't be helpful. You're losing your mind. You're depressed. You are already a hawk and terrible on Israel. And then every time you go on Fox News to talk about how terrible Gazans are and Palestinians are, your dad calls you and is like, son, I love you. When I see you, I'm going to give you a hug. You've made daddy proud. Like, that's a terrible cocktail. The war on Gaza was also luring Fetterman back to X. He handed over his social media passwords to his staff as part of his recovery plan. But when he saw in December that Pennsylvania protesters had stuck a boycott Israel goods sticker on hummus containers, he approved of posts for staff to send. The message adhered to a classic meme format featuring two photos of Drake, one which the rapper appears disgusted by the text that reads, protest the rape of Israeli women and girls, and another which he nodded approvingly to protest hummus. The post roiled his staff. According to one former aide, a group of women who worked in the office argued that the message could be read as hurtful to sexual assault survivors. Members of Fetterman's senior team spent hours urging him to take the post down. The point he was trying to make, the protesters didn't care about the atrocities committed by Hamas, was being lost in the controversy. No shit. According to one of them, Fetterman's response was that he didn't want to give in to the woke mob, and anyone that was upset was welcomed to resign. Eventually, however, he did take it down. I mean, and this is the other thing. It's like, let's just keep it 100. Being in a bad mental state, coming out of a stroke, suffering from depression, feeling like you have delusions that like the world is working against you and that everybody hates you secretly and that they're all talking about you behind their back and they're all plotting against you. Aren't I also kind of describing someone who is a rabid Zionist? Like, aren't I also describing someone who believes that everyone who talks about the genocide is secretly anti-Semitic and like we've been plotting this whole time and against our American Jewish friends, and we've just been waiting for Hamas to give us the green light to be able to be mad at Israel for crimes that they have to commit, and that everyone who doesn't get it, and we like I'm not naming names, but there's some of them are in the public eye, maybe having interesting debates right at this very moment, or non-interesting debates. Some of them are in my personal life, some of them I've seen, some of them I know, but like there is definitely a Venn diagram. Shout out to Kamala. There is a Venn diagram of like losing your mind, being a Zionist. Like those two things are kind of related. So I can only imagine, again, the sort of cocktail of insane that is happening in this man's brain. Let's see. In the final weeks of 2023, a Senate physician called the office, according to a staffer, to say he had seen Fetterman acting bizarrely near the underground trolleys that shuttle people between the Capitol and nearby office buildings. I'm sorry, wait, is Fetterman just the like mentally ill man who's like hanging around public transportation, but like in the Capitol building? Like he's like the Senate's version of that, because that's really funny. That, I mean, it's not, and everyone deserves to get help, but like I do think that that's oh my god, just like screaming about Israel by the trolleys. Like, who is that? Oh, that's a senator. I couldn't tell because he wears a very large sweatshirt. Don't clip that, hippie ninja. How dare you? He had witnessed Fetterman, seemingly unaware of his surroundings, walk directly into a group of people, nearly bowling them over. Jesus, I just got off with the docs. A staffer wrote to Giselle in the text. They said they called it to debrief. The staffer went on to say that others shared his worries about Fetterman's behavior and that at least 2 top aides were likely to quit soon because of it. I don't want to sound offensive, but I want to be clear that this isn't just me. Everyone here is feeling alarmed. Giselle said, I don't think that for a second it's you. Giselle then texted that she told her husband that his staff and doctor were worried about him, but they told her it's not true. And I guess I'm not talking to you today, before hanging up. The doctor also said that he was fighting to get access to the Twitter account. She went on, quote, please promise that that he'll never have access. I don't want to talk to him until his blood is tested. Who did I marry? Where is the man I married? In our conversation, Fetterman downplayed any supposed arguments with Giselle, telling me that she has her own voice and that he would never try to change her views, even if they differed from his. I think it's very common in a political marriage, he said. In a statement, Giselle suggested Gentleson was part of a conspiracy to damage her husband's reputation, saying Gentleson fed her scary, untrue stories about John's health. Yeesh. She added, I would talk to John's doctors about what Adam was telling me, and they would be confused. The doctors would tell me that their concerns were not with John, but with Adam. Any alleged concerns heard from me came straight from those lies, not from John's doctors or my own eyes. Oh, boy. But again, people thought he was missing regular checkups. Okay, so there's trouble in the actual assessments of him. So Adam Gentleson, who wrote this 1,600-word email in when he resigned and said, I'm worried, I'm concerned. Now Giselle, who has also been worried and concerned, is like, nah, he's lying. It's just endless. But this is from Fetterman. Hang on. Oh, about Palestinians. You can't reform a carton of sour milk, Fetterman told Ben Ami, according to notes from the meeting, referring to the Palestinians. This is, I think, a guy from J Street. According to notes from the meeting referring to Palestinians, Fetterman said he did not believe in a two-state solution and claimed he had never met an Arab person who would condemn Hamas. Correction, the notes from the meeting stated, quote, only a single Arab he has met with that staff was present for wouldn't outright condemn Hamas. What? Fetterman went on to make statements that shocked people. In opposing a ceasefire, he said, let's get back to killing. A person who heard the conversation told me. He said, kill them all. In a statement, Fetterman denied the account, adding, any reference to killing was solely about Hamas, and I do support the destruction of that organization down to its last member. Well, buddy, that's your problem, because the state of Israel has not distinguished between who is Hamas and who is not. Top officials, people in the Israeli cabinet have said there are no innocent civilians. There are no Palestinians who didn't support Hamas. They should be punished for this. They don't distinguish. They don't offer any kind of humanitarian corridors. They don't offer any kind of humanitarian aid. They do nothing to show that they believe there are innocent non-Hamas people inside of Gaza. So, and let's just keep it 100. Finally, none of this is different from what Joe Biden was saying himself. This is the whole thing. They never believed in a ceasefire. All they believed is one side completely relents, no matter the Israeli hostages that might die. One side completely relents. And that's when we get ceasefire. We have to cease fire because there's nothing left to fire at. When Hamas fully says, okay, you can have control of Gaza. Well, they're never going to do that. That's not going to happen. So, but remember, this is Israel's definition of ceasefire. They've always believed that until the brief moment when, yes, the Trump administration was able to put some pressure and was like, don't do this, not for the inauguration. It makes us look bad. Anyway, terrifying. I hope that this article is a little bit of a wake-up call for Fetterman. We'll see. There's video of Fetterman also like refusing to wear a seatbelt on a plane. What are we doing?
Is your seatbelt on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it needs to be visible for the crew at all times. That's not an us thing. That's a federal regulation. So it's okay. It's okay.
I put my seatbelt on and I haven't said anything.
Okay, it's okay, but it just has to be visible to the crew at all times. It's a federal regulation, so if your seatbelt's on, it just has to be visible. And right now, it's not visible. We have an extender if you'd like that. It'll make it bigger so it can go outside of your sweatshirt. Would that work?
Oh. We have a seatbelt extension. So this is the pilot who's like, we know you're not wearing a seatbelt. It's a federal regulation. Please put it on. We have a seatbelt extender if you need one of those. And he's like, I have it. Oh, what do you mean?
You do. So if you want to go to Pittsburgh, it's simple. You have to follow our instructions where you're going to ask to get off here. We're not asking much. All that happen, like all that needs, we need to be able to see your seatbelt at all times.
I've been flying for 30 years and I've never experienced this. I'm not sure what.
He's saying, if you want to go to Pittsburgh, I got to see your seatbelt.
Okay, well, it's a federal regulation, so if I don't make you do it, then I get in trouble, and I don't want to get in trouble because I like my job. So I'll ask you.
This is so wild. Okay, so someone is filming him and she's kind of snickering. And again, this is this doesn't matter. Okay, Fetterman's refusing to wear a seatbelt on a plane. He's being scolded by the pilot. But given what we just heard about everything that he's going through, isn't it kind of par for the course? Doesn't it kind of fit like that on some random shit? Like he doesn't want to wear a seatbelt on a plane. He's gonna make that a thing. I love. He's like, it's a federal regulation. It's like, I am the Fed. I hope he gets the help he needs. I know I shouldn't wish that upon someone who's really, really disgusting in so many ways when it comes to human rights. But like, what do you do with someone like that? Clearly the resignations haven't helped. I wonder if this article would help. I hope he gets put on the right meds. But it's funny because like when he got finally put on the right meds, all he was doing was, becoming a crazy genocide apologist. Not apologist, enthusiast. Anywho, this is probably maybe one of the funnier stories of the week. And I know it's hard because everything's depressing and terrifying and upsetting. Before I get into it, let's just read Let's see. Robert says the Dems are so messed in their mindsets, they really think the only point is that they're likely to regain political power, and that means more donor money. Yeah. Rachel Atwood said, I read the Bulwark misquoted Jeffries staffers. I mean, that's what they're saying. So it could be, you know, I'd like to think that no more trips to El Salvador, but I mean, if 2 staffers said that, who knows? I don't need more evidence to tell me I don't like Hakeem Jeffries. Do you know what I mean? Like, Hakeem Jeffries not going to budge. I don't expect him to lead the way on anything. Nadia Yvette Chambers says Germany's Federal Office for Protection of the Constitution has classified the AfD as an extreme right threat. Hopefully, step forward in banning them. That's good. I mean, what's wild, right, is that Germany is, has no problem with banning, Nazi speech, obviously, and even bans Palestinian organizations over, again, alleged anti-Semitism. So it's like, and you're allowing AfD, but of course, homie Vance is going to come to its rescue somehow. Doug, thank you for that super sticker. And Jan Morgan, holy moly, thank you so much. 10, beautiful. Gifted subs, everybody gobble those up and check out the bonus episodes every Wednesday in your eye holes and your ear holes. Patreon.com/bitchuation room is where you go to get that. Fascist Killa, hey, thank you for subscribing. 11 months strong, 11 months with my favorite political streamer and the best for that matter. No, thank you. Holy Beer Dragon, 44 months strong, resubscribed. Hello, Frantifa, great to be here despite everything. Agreed. Okay, funniest story. Pam Bondi is like if you took a decorative Etsy pillow that said like, God, country, blessed is this house, whatever, some sort of like horribly crocheted pillow, and you just soaked it in a bunch of Chardonnay, and then you lit a burning cross with that Chardonnay soaked pillow. That I think would become Pam Bondi, who once again, in her time in Florida, allowed Trump to get away with defrauding Trump University attendees who were swindled out of their money. But they did get to take a picture with a cardboard cutout of Trump. That was fun. And she's now obviously the attorney general, and she's making sure that we know that it is fentanyl week, baby. We're talking Fent. And she shared this, and then she doubles down. So a few days ago, it was Fentanyl Awareness Day. I guess I missed the memo. I didn't do my little dosage in celebration. I'm very aware of fentanyl. I'm kidding. It is also the one drug that when you're giving birth, you are allowed to get. And you bet your ass hospitals and women who are in birth are going to be denied fentanyl access because of the insane overreaction to fentanyl. Now, what's really important to know, and if you guys want to, go back to the Bitchuation Room vault, look up Maya, Maia Solovitz. But she is an incredible journalist, and she writes about harm addiction, the opioid crisis, and really our way out of it. And when she was last on, the one thing she told me that kind of blew my mind was basically, if you wanted to supply all of opioid users with fentanyl for a year, it would take only 2 trailer truck loads. So she's saying that it would be 2 trucks for a year. Why? Because fentanyl is incredibly potent within a small amount. So the cat's trying to come out. Cut this. Hi, honey. Hi, you want to show the people? You want to say hi? Speaking of someone who needs fentanyl. Oh, my baby, are you okay? Hi, honey. Hi. Have you been peeing under there? Oh my God, you poor baby. Okay. Hang on, guys. I got to let her out. One sec. Poor thing. Oh boy, my little sweat stains. If you're listening, you're not listening because we'll just make a note of this. 102. Poor thing. Okay. Time in. Poor Chitty. Poor Chitty not feeling good. Yeah, she's on the struggle bus, y'all. Okay. So in other words, it is really hard to stop all entrance of fentanyl into this country, which, by the way, again, is mixed into pills and other things inside the United States, not outside of the United States. It could be trafficked or it's produced from outside. But, you know, there are a lot of dealers here and people who are citizens. And anyway, so here's what she said, which is amazing. Today is Fentanyl Awareness Day. In President Trump's first 100 days, it's okay, she doesn't have a Southern accent, but we've seized over 22 million fentanyl-laced pills, saving over 119 million lives. What? We're fighting relentlessly for the families of loved ones lost, for those whose lives are at risk, and for the soul of our nation. We will not rest until this poison is off our streets and those peddling it are behind bars. Today, I visited a DEA HQ forensic lab to learn more about how cartels are quickly making this poison that kills Americans. Did you guys like that?
Seeing that pill press should frighten every American. I am terrified after seeing it because it shows how fast you can manufacture and make these pills.
So during our tour, we saw where fentanyl is made, Trace, for research purposes. Also, areas where to learn it came from originally. The DEA says that fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin. According to CDC data, overdose deaths, the leading cause of death for Americans between 18 and 44. The precursor chemicals, Trace.
Leading cause of death between Americans 18 to 44. I'm pretty sure without even Googling it, that's guns. Like, what do you mean? No, I don't think that's true. But what certainly is not true, people, is 119 million lives were saved because 22 million fentanyl-laced pills were seized. That is quite literally 34% of the population. So Pam Bondi thinks that she and the DEA saved 34% of Americans' lives. That's how many people are on fentanyl or on opioids who would have taken this? Just like so silly. And people made a deal of people were like, what? This math ain't mathing. That doesn't work. And of course, she doubled down on it during this ridiculous Oval Office here, like sort of round table in which everyone sort of went around and was like, I love Trump because he's got a nice wrists. And here she was. And it's a little breathier. Yeah. Okay. It's a little bit breathier. And we are saving 34% of Americans' lives.
3,400 kilos of fentanyl since you've been your last 100 days, which saved, are you ready for this, media? 258 million lives.
What? Wait. Are you ready for this, media? So she knows that the media is like, I'm pretty sure the pills that if you did seize those, were not going to kill 119 million people, which is just like, look, the opioid epidemic is already bad. You don't have to like inflate your numbers for us to take it seriously. In fact, we'll talk about what you have to do to take it seriously. But you hear that, media? Listen, I'm going to even make it worse. Here we go. Look, Dad, look at me right in the eyes. Look at me right in the eyes. JD's like, oh, where's she going with this? I can't believe I killed the Pope. I should be Pope. Oh my God. Here we go.
Your last 100 days, which saved, are you ready for this, media? 258 million lives. Kids are dying every day because they're taking this junk laced with something else. They don't know what they're taking. They think they're buying a Tylenol or an Adderall and a Xanax, and it's laced with fentanyl, and they're dropping dead.
they think they're buying a Tylenol for an Adderall. Okay, whoa. Tylenol, that's over the counter. Adderall, that's prescribed. So what do you mean? Do you mean in the black market? Do you mean they're just buying it off the black market, right? Maybe. I mean, it's just so funny that like they think they're buying an Adderall. Well, why would anyone need to buy like just the way that we go about trying to stamp out drugs that cannot be stamped out is so ridiculous. I am squarely in the camp of legalizing, regulating, and putting money into treatments for addicts. In addition, but to the thing that the Trump administration actually moving in the opposite direction of. But how many? I'm sorry. Let's go back.
Lives. Kids are dying. Media, 258 million lives.
258 million lives. How many people are in the United States? 340. 258. 300. What? So what is that? 75%? 85% of the American population was going to die from fentanyl overdose until you saved us? I mean, what else what else is there to say? You win. This is amazing. And thanks to Paige, my producer who loves these stories and they're important. Remember that there are ways to save lives for people who even accidentally OD, don't know what they're taking, and it's called Narcan. It's called, I mean, even if you don't believe in harm reduction or needle exchange or regulation, or you think what I'm saying is too radical, you can believe in Narcan. It saves lives if someone is ODing. And looks like the Trump administration is, oh yeah, they're doing a little reversal on that. Despite the pledge, and this is 2 days ago, to expand naloxone access, Trump administration proposals would cut overdose prevention programs. They've named overdose prevention programs among their top policy priorities, but a preliminary budget proposal that was recently leaked suggests it would cut about 24 substance abuse prevention and treatment programs. No. In a document published last month by President's Office of National Drug Control Policy, the first strategy listed under the first policy objective reads, to combat the drug crisis and opioid epidemic, largely driven by fentanyl, the administration will expand access to overdose prevention, education, and life-saving opioid overdose reversal medications like naloxone. However, among the potential cuts listed in the budget proposal in April was a program that directly expands access to naloxone, a $56 million annual grant through the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, that helps distribute kits and trains first responders and others on how to use them. In the fiscal year 2023, the First Responders Comprehension Addiction and Recovery Act, or FRCARA, program distributed more than 101,000 opioid overdose reversal medication kits, trained nearly 77,000 people on how to administer them. According to the budget request document from SAMHSA, plans for the fiscal year 2024 raise that goal to distributing 130,000 kits and training tens of thousands of more. Spokespeople for the OMB say no decisions have been made, including those cuts to naloxone. A reorganization at HHS will consolidate SAMHSA under a new Administration for a Healthy America, the pros beet juice and blue methylamine and, raw milk division of our health and human safety, run by enter random name of grifter guru you never heard before, who probably has a sexual assault allegation hanging over them, ran a yoga wellness retreat. An effort that the agency says is meant to, quote, more efficiently coordinate chronic care and disease prevention programs and harmonize health resources to low-income Americans. I mean, this is like, this makes me so scared. This makes me so scary. I find incredibly scary. I just it's one thing to not believe in vaccines, which maybe we shouldn't understate how deafeningly terrifying that is. Recently, I believe RFK Jr. cast doubt on the idea that they would approve a new COVID vaccine come the fall to prep us for the winter. So fun. But Then you have the registry of autistic people. Then you have the threats to, limit SSRIs and limit people's access to antidepressants and send them to wellness camps instead. And now you have people who are struggling, who are addicts, right? If you think that, all SSRIs are just people who are addicts and they just should have meditated away the bipolar disorder. Like, if you think that, but then you have actual addicts, you have people who actually have problems, who maybe want to get some help, and your answer, and you're going to subsume them under the fucking Maha rubric, we are so cooked. Regina LaBelle, director at Addiction and Public Policy Initiative at Georgetown University, said naloxone, the antidote to an overdose, save lives every day, and naloxone distribution programs have been part of the federal government's overdose response for over a decade. The administration recently renewed the opioid public health emergency, but at the same time, it's calling for the elimination of programs that are working to bring down overdose death rates. These actions make the emergency declaration ring hollow, and worse still, if the programs are eliminated, it will have serious negative impacts on communities nationwide. Like the Cherokee Nation, which received $1 million through the FRCARA grant, which it put to the tribe's harm reduction program. It estimates that 25,000 kits with Narcan, one of the brand names of naloxone, have been dispersed to law enforcement, schools, and communities in northeastern Oklahoma. All of these agencies could not afford Narcan if we did not provide it, so we're hopeful the grant continues, and we know it's powerful and effective. But we saved your lives by taking these pills away. Just the height of hypocrisy. But what else is new? Some good news, briefly. Maybe you all saw, but a judge has said, hey, you can't do that. Which judge? Another judge. A Trump-appointed judge. A Texas judge. Oh, God. Triple hit. Is he a man? Boy, oh boy. Obviously, the deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia is illegal, so says the Supreme Court. Perhaps even the deportation of the 238 men to El Salvador was illegal because a judge halted those flights, but the Trump administration ignored that as well. So we got 2 for 2 of ignoring the rule of law. And now a judge in Texas is saying, hey, Alien Enemies Act, the whole thing that Marco Rubio is invoking, that the Trump administration is invoking, that says we can sweep up Venezuelans and deport them to black sites, but also that we can sweep up students with visas who are threatening our, foreign policy because they don't want babies to be killed in Gaza. That might be illegal. Trump-appointed federal judges permanently blocked the Trump administration from detaining permanently or removing Venezuelans targeted for deportation under the Alien Enemies Act in the Southern District of Texas. Again, Wednesday, we talked about the SOS that detainees had spelled out to tell the media that they are terrified for their lives and they're being treated horribly. The ruling marks the first time a federal judge has declared President Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act unlawful, with the judge rebuking the president's claim that the Venezuelan criminal gang Tren de Aragua is invading the United States. Well, I mean, math is not their strong suit. We just proved this through 254 million Americans' lives who were saved by the fentanyl that we seized that was being snuck into Tylenol. So you say invasion, you say a few gangs here and there, we say invasion. Let's call the whole thing authoritarian. The ruling by U.S. District Judge Fernandez Rodriguez only applies to AEA-based deportations, does not prevent the government from detaining or seeking the deportation of individuals under the Immigration and Nationality Act. So it just applies to the Alien Enemies Act. In other words, you can't suspend law. You actually have to go through processes. 36-page opinion, Rodriguez concluded that Trump's March 15th invocation is unlawful and exceeds the scope of the centuries-old wartime law that allows the president to deport non-citizens with little to no due process during an invasion or predatory incursion. Quote, the president cannot summarily declare that a foreign national or government is threatened or perpetrated an invasion or predatory incursion of the United States, followed by the identification of the alien enemies subjected to detention or removal. While the judge declined to weigh in on whether Tren de Aragua represents a foreign nation or government, he concluded that the Trump administration fell short of proving the violent gang was engaging in an invasion or predatory incursion as required by the Alien Enemies Act. Trump's proclamation had alleged that Tren de Aragua's, I kind of feel like this judge is like, if you can prove it, I'll let you do it. But I don't think they are. The proclamation makes no reference to and in no manner suggests that a threat exists of an organized armed group of individuals entering the U.S. at the direction of Venezuela to conquer the country or assume control over a portion of the nation. Thus, the proclamation's language cannot be read as describing conduct that falls within the meaning of invasion for purposes of the AEA. Now, if Venezuela were to do a Pearl Harbor, that would change things. Would we be okay with mass internment of Venezuelan Americans like happened to Japanese Americans? I wouldn't. I'll tell you that right now. I personally wouldn't. But there was a war in that moment, so one could imagine that a right-wing Trump-appointed justice might see things differently in that moment. This is why we need to get rid of these things. So we'll see if he ignores this again, which I'm assuming, spoiler, he will. Meanwhile, Nicolas Maduro, who's the president of Venezuela, who largely I think is an idiot and also an authoritarian in his own right. Although Bolivarian socialism is something I believe in, and I have warm feelings towards Hugo Chavez. There, I said it. But Nicolas Maduro has actually been like sounding the alarm a lot. Nicolas Maduro has been in front of the UN. He's been desperate to get back the people who are in El Salvador right now. He's like, you can't just take people from my country. Like, you can't just take these people. You can't just keep them indefinitely. So here he is saying, Venezuelan president slams, this is according to France 24, slams U.S. over little girl's abduction. Maduro accused Washington of committing a crime in the case of a 2-year-old separated from her migrant parents who were deported from the United States without her. DHS has said the girl was placed in foster care to protect her from her parents who it claimed were members of Venezuela's, wait for it, Tren de Aragua. Oh, Jesus Christ. Mind you, this is on top of the fact that a Cuban mother, this is Marco Rubio, yo. A Cuban mother of 3, the youngest of whom is still breastfeeding, was deported to Cuba under this DHS. Marco Rubio is such a lying sack of shit. Because remember, if you're fleeing a socialist or communist government, we have all the sympathy for you. Remember the whole special treatment for Cuban Americans that we have carved out in this country for decades and decades and decades, that Marco Rubio hung his fucking entire political career on. Oh, my family's so persecuted. Oh, now we're going to deport a breastfeeding mom. Yeah, and the child is also epileptic. So beautiful, beautiful. Good work, Rubio. That's your home state, isn't it? Florida? That's your people. I love it. Like, if there's one thing, if Cubans in Florida could start to think about maybe voting blue in the future, and if Marco Rubio's, draconian deportation regime helps them do that, I say bring it on. I love it. I hate it. I mostly hate it, but I kind of love that aspect of it. This is a crime, whichever way you see it, taking a 2-year-old away from a migrant mother, but just because she's a migrant in Venezuela, Maduro said Monday during his weekly television program, accusing her without evidence of being a member of a criminal gang. Using it as an excuse to steal her child is a crime under any international law. Now, again, look, we don't know. We don't know the details about, did the parents want the 2-year-old to stay, right? Did they not? I'm assuming nobody wants to be separated from their friggin' 2-year-old. DHS did not say where it deported the girl's parents to. But Venezuela believes that her father was among about 250 men sent to El Salvador's notorious CECOT prison. Holy shit. In a statement Saturday, DHS claimed the father, Maiker Espinoza Escalona, was a trained de Aragua lieutenant who, quote, oversees homicides, drug sales, kidnappings, extortions, sex trafficking, and operates a torture house. Oh, okay. The girl's mother, Yoreli Escarez Bernal Incirate, oversees the recruitment of young women for drug smuggling and prostitution. Where do they have the time? I'm a mother of a 2-year-old. I mean, like, no disrespect, but I can barely find time to do my show 3 times a week. How am I going to oversee a whole extortion ring? Drug smuggling, prostitution with a 2-year-old? Try keeping a 2-year-old quiet. I'm obviously being facetious, but like, it is really important to understand that it's not just Kilmar Abrego Garcia. It is so many other families, Venezuelan families, that have been torn apart because of what this administration is doing. It's to say nothing of the people who are currently being held, have not been deported, but are currently being held right now. Welcome, Matthew the Celt, new membership, Mike H. Vetras Varna. What's up, Vetras? Cutting harm reduction is just part of their eugenics program. Bingo. What year did John Fetterman win the G.G. Allen lookalike contest? Kowalczyk? Why don't I know that person? I need to Google them immediately. I think we need to, oh boy. Okay, let's just, this is so much. It's good. It's good. It's all good. Keep sending the super chats. You want this show to continue? You want it to continue? You little bitch. I'm just kidding. Oh my God. Elon has moved on, people. Elon, he's tired of government. He feels unappreciated. You made him sad. You protesting with the Tesla takedown Tuesdays. You protesting outside of SpaceX. You getting mad that you lost your federal grant or you lost your job at the CDC. You getting mad that your entire community has been ripped apart because of what Doge has done, or getting mad that, Doge is actively allowing Russia to access our personal data and allowing data sharing between the IRS and Social Security and so many agencies that it shouldn't have data sharing access with. You who are mad that a bunch of 19-year-old virginal hackers, neo-Nazis, are dismantling our federal government from the inside. You've made him sad. And so now Elon's pivoting. He's doing something new. Okay? You ready for it? He's going to take over a town in Texas. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I feel for this Texas town, but I'm a little bit like, this is the billionaire tech bro world. Like, yes. Go start a new colony where it's just like no fat chicks or whatever, According to Politico, Elon Musk is trying to colonize this community, taking over a Texas town. Oh my God. A 9-foot-tall bust of Elon, inspired by the meme, Elon, I drew you / you're my hero, Elon, stands off the Boca Chica Boulevard in Brownsville, Texas. Is that a border town? Where a tech billionaire is looking to incorporate his company town. Boca Chica Village, which is just giving me big Seinfeld dad, or not Seinfeld dad, Costanza dad, Del Boca Vista, Boca Chica Village, Texas. Driving down a long empty stretch of Highway 4 in South Texas, there are few indications this windswept corner of the nation, bound by the Gulf of Mexico and the Rio Grande, is host to more than the dense mesquite thicks and ghosts of the Civil War. The land feels vast, unchanged, decidedly apolitical, bigger than people altogether. That is until a break in the brush reveals that an enormous gold bust of Elon Musk staring into the distance. Oh boy. The signs of the political moment are everywhere. U.S. immigration enforcement agents in bulletproof jackets flag down passing cars at an inland border checkpoint. A road leading off the highway reads Mars-a-Lago. No, no, no. I'm going to just go with no on that. I love how he's ruined, like, I mean, Mars, whatever, but like ruining the Shibu Inu with the Doge, like meme is very sad. 100 yards away, bookended by an old black Studebaker parked for sale in a dusty pullout, murals of Musk's face, and the Doge Shibu Inu plaster 2 30-foot concrete towers. And then this is Starbase, the soon to be. Why is it always so nerdy? This is Starbase. I built Starbase. Like, why do they have the same names that a child who's building a fort in her bedroom, in their living room? Like, the Starbase. The soon-to-be newest city in Texas and Elon Musk's first company town, the far-flung settlement populated almost entirely by SpaceX employees and construction workers, is the site of SpaceX's launch pad for their next generation of Starship rockets. Oh boy. And home for humanity's future colonization of Mars. What a glowing, glowing article. What's happening here is incredible, said Kit Frederick, an Oregon resident who bought a nearby plot of undeveloped land recently, enticed by its proximity to spaceflight. Oh boy, you better get a good insurance policy on that, Kit, because some of those rockets are coming right down on your goddamn house. Someday, every state in the union is going to want something like this. No. Right now, this 1.5 square mile community, is technically unincorporated Boca Chica Village, but on Saturday, the 200-odd residents, the vast majority of whom are SpaceX employees, will decide whether the land, holy shit, that's tomorrow, whether the land surrounding Musk's massive rocket launch pad should become its own city, Starbase, Texas. It's an election that the region has been marching towards since December, when several dozen residents submitted a petition to South Texas's Cameron County, asking it to schedule an election that would incorporate Starbase as its own municipality. The move would give SpaceX increased autonomy, virtually its own government, and greater ability to build how and where it wants. No fat chicks. This is near the border. I'm very excited for the cartel activity in Starbase. I'm just kidding, obviously, but it's kind of funny because it's so near the border and it'd be fun. Residents of Brownsville, now I can't stop speaking in Lisp, population of 200,000, a border community just 20 miles away, are not uniformly ready to welcome Mayor Musk. Since SpaceX's arrival in Cameron County a decade earlier, rents have skyrocketed nearly 15%. Access to a nearby beach has been restricted for locals during rocket launches, drawing ire and frustration from residents shut off from their main point of access to recreation along the coast. Oh, I'm sorry. You can't. No beach today. So the richest man on Earth just wants to try to get a little bit closer to Mars, but he probably won't get out of the stratosphere. It's going to be, sorry, there's just debris. I know it's your summer vacation, but there's debris. Anyway, here, would you like a Starbase pin? The election, Jesus Christ, they're going to vote on this. The election comes in a key moment in a relationship between Musk and Cameron County and the nation writ large. The national level, I haven't even heard about this. Musk has emerged as one of the least likely members of the Trump administration, even among Republicans. Yes, his influence has begun to wane. In Cameron County, local elected officials, long supportive of SpaceX's presence, have begun to draw a firmer line over the powers it should hold. Yeah. As the hours inch towards Election Day, local activists and organizers who've been fighting SpaceX for years are attempting a last-ditch effort to sway voters. The measure's passage could lead to possible land grabs through eminent domain, diminished public beach access, less oversight of the company's activities. Its failure, meanwhile, would serve as a public black eye for Musk, yes, and an indication of limited support even within his own company. Oh my God, they live in Airstream trailers serving as temporary housing. This is like such a crazy photo. This is like such a invasion, fucking Burning Man ass little image. This is a very, very long piece, but I think it's important to let's just look at the pictures. Let's just watch the pictures because I like them. I don't want to read this whole thing to you. Motherfuckers are setting up shop. They chose it due to its low latitude, over water launch opportunities, low population density. Oh boy. Live in our tomorrow today. Starbase Boca Chica. Oh, wow. Polling place. Gee, I wonder how people are going to vote in the place where the only people work for SpaceX. Can you vote against it? The company claims to have created over 3,000 jobs for the region. I mean, looks like you're importing workers, my guy. Thousands of employees and contractors now work at the facility, which has become the main production and testing location for Musk's Starship rockets. It's not a good time to get this vote across the finish line, y'all. I don't have a lot of faith that this is going to happen. Because everything's imploding in his face. The judge in Wisconsin, now this. Starbase. Maybe we'll talk about it Tuesday, depending. Nadia Yvette Chambers, thank you for your super chat. Fentanyl, Christo-fascist, equals denialist re-psychiatry. Say all psychiatric issues are spiritual and philosophically against alleviating suffering writ large because theology, because people need to come to Jesus. Yeah. Happy birthday to Matt. Yes, I have to go relieve Matt because a baby is home from daycare. And you know how it is. Guys, before we go, one more story, and I'll be done. I'll be done very quickly. Not that you care, but I care. Usually we do these kinds of stories on Wednesdays, but I think it's important to do it today. Bonobos. Bonobos. You've seen them in Planet of the Apes, the reboot series. Pretty good series, not gonna lie. Bonobos have sex for pleasure. Some of the few mammals that do, including us. I mean, you know, people who don't vote Republican. These apes are matriarchal also, but it doesn't mean they're peaceful. Females in the bonobo society reign supreme by working together to keep males in their place. God damn it. Thank God some primates are getting this whole situation right. Yes, matriarchy. We keep men in their place because these fools are wild. Male domination is a natural order of things, some people say, but bonobos primates, with whom we share nearly 99% of our DNA, beg to differ. Bonobos are great apes that live in female-dominated societies, a relative rarity among mammals, especially in species where males are the larger sex. Because, you know, like, we're told by, like, you know, like, I feel like Tim Pool's been like, well, so if you think about it, you know, who's the larger mammal? It's the male. And so they're naturally going to be better at, you know, lifting, bro. And so that's why the female will obviously listen, because they use their physical strength in order to do that. Do they, though? Or do they use their brains to control? They live in female-dominated societies, especially in species where males are the larger sex, while females are smaller than their male counterparts. They reign supreme. Scientists have long wondered how female bonobos maintain their matriarchies. In a study published Thursday in the journal Communications Biology, researchers who tracked 6 bonobo communities in the DRC, that's the Democratic Republic of Congo, over nearly 30 years, provided the first evidence-based explanation for how female bonobos gain and sustain dominance over their males within their communities. Okay, ladies, tuck in. We are focusing on this. This is very important. We're working together. I see a lot of men have left the stream, but that's okay. Females, they found, form coalitions against males to tip the balance of power in their favor. That's right. When male bonobos step out of line, nearby females will band together to attack or intimidate him. This is what we call solidarity, y'all. This is what feminism looks like. Males who cower in the face of such conflicts lose social rank while their female adversaries gain it, affording them better access to food and mates for their sons. Bonobos and chimpanzees are our closest living relatives. They were once thought to be slightly smaller and darker skinned subspecies of the chimpanzee. Scientists determined that nearly a century ago, they're separate species. These endangered apes, found only in the Democratic Republic of Congo, are difficult to study in the wild. They trudge through dense jungles. Jesus, that's so cool. They get up around 3 o'clock in the morning, walk for an hour or two to find where they build their nests the previous night. It's a known among primatologists that bonobos make a lot of love in addition to war. They carry out rather heavy petting, make sex toys. What? Okay, there's a link. I'm gonna have to look at the bonobo sex toy. That is amazing. And engage in homosexual intercourse. Don't tell Mike Johnson. With their sexual activity and lower levels of violence compared with chimpanzees, the idea that bonobos are the hippies of the ape world is pervasive. However, observations by Dr. Surbeck and his team and those of other researchers challenge the harmonious stereotyping of these primates. Bonobos are not as peaceful as people might think. That includes conflict between the sexes. From 1993 to 2021, they observed 1,786 instances of a male starting beef with a female. Examples included acting aggressive, monopolizing food. In roughly 61% of these fights, the female teamed up with other females and emerged victorious. Burr, 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 burr. Pussy grabs back, y'all, but bonobos. 61% of these fights. That's good odds. That's good odds, y'all. You talking about 100 men versus a gorilla? What about a bunch of bonobo ladies just learning solidarity? Such conflicts can be very severe. On a few occasions, we suspect the male died as a result of the attack. Ooh, that's on them, dog. That's what's on them. You got uppity. Males have been known to lose fingers and toes in such conflicts. In one unfortunate incident, a male bonobo in the Stuttgart Zoo in Germany had his penis bit in half during a battle with two females. I fucking love bonobos. I love them so much. This is just like, oh, really? Oh, really? This is like, you thought the Me Too movement was rough. You thought the Me Too movement had, bam, I'm going to bite your fucking dick in half. A surgeon was able to sew it back together. Are we not merciful? Drawing on all the data they gathered, Dr. Surbeck and his team tested several hypotheses for how females maintain power in bonobo society. After crunching the numbers, the only one the team found evidence to support was the one research called the female coalition hypothesis, which suggests females work together to overpower males during conflicts, resulting in higher social ranks for the winning females. The average female bonobo, I mean, ladies, if this is not a reason to stick with your sisters, to overcome the douchebags who are in office right now on your state level, on your local level, on the federal level, who are stripping away our own rights to our own goddamn bodies, the consequences of which they take no responsibility for. Let's be real. This is a call to action. The female coalition hypothesis. They work together to overpower males during conflicts, resulting in the higher social ranks for winning females. The average female bonobo, research found, outranks approximately 70% of males in her community. Oh, this is what we're working toward. Doctor, do you think that like male bonobos start podcasts or like, why? Like men are just not taught to be men anymore, and like we're just like, we're not taught to respect strength, and we're taught that it's okay to cry and it's okay to cower. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like we've really feminized the workforce in the bonobo hierarchy. They're all sitting around their little fucking cans on their bonobo ears doing their podcasts. Yeah, we just need to warm our testicles on some sort of Tesla charging machine like Tucker Carlson wants. We just need to start drinking our own piss. For people who've been in the field with bonobos, it's not that surprising. It's really nice to have action. What's so funny about this also is that they do a lot of, like, they have a lot of sex. And I'm assuming predominantly, heterosexual sex, but all sex. And it's like, oh, see what happens when you let women, like, take control of things? Everyone's fucking and everyone's happy. That's all. Like, more sex. Everyone fucking. Bonobos are an endangered species. As our closest living relative, they help us look into our past or our future. If we lose them, we lose a mirror for humanity. I love like this is like not I'm being 100% serious when I say I do hope, and if someone comes across it, I really do hope that like Rogan talks about this article, because every time there's like an article about how animals behave or whatnot, I feel like men are always like sort of people who are really wedded to their toxic masculinity. There's always like, oh, well, see, animals do it. Animals rape all the time. Why can't we? You know, it's like, well, you've got a brain and like respect for people, and you're not violent. But the point is like 99% of our DNA shared. And this is how conflicts are solved. Women banding together when men get out of line. 70% of women actually pull rank on men. Somebody's got to talk about it. And thus this has been a nearly 2-hour Fantastic Friday. I encourage you to support me, to support my cat, to support my daughter, to support this show and all of what I'm trying to do here, the fun, the sadness, the anger, all the things, and all the work that I have to do now that I'm about to publish it. Patreon.com/Bitchuation is where you go. $10 a month gets you that shout out during the fart song. Also, you can support the show by tipping it, TBR-live on Venmo, TBR live on Cash App. You can come see me live, Cobb's Comedy in San Francisco next Wednesday. You can also see me in Los Angeles at the end of the month. You can also become a member on YouTube or on Twitch. What is up? I saw I got a shout out from the Majority Report earlier. That was tight. Also, Tayo1966, thank you so much for subscribing. And until Tuesday, you guys, remember to fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, free Palestine. Don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Bye.